Want to automate APIs without coding? Imagine pulling, updating and deleting data from an API in just a few clicks. In this video, I will show you how to use make.com to automate APIs workflows, no coding required whatsoever. Stay until the end of this video and I will show you how you can use these skills to save time and make money. In this video, we will build a real-world API automation scenario in make.com. Here's what we will cover: how to retrieve data using a GET request, how to send data using a POST request, how to update data using a PUT request, how to delete data using a DELETE request. Also, we will cover what is JSON and what kind of authentication we have. I will also share a bonus tip on handling authentication and storing API responses. So let's get started. So in order to start working with endpoints and API in general, we would need an API key. So first we need to find what we're gonna use. So in this case, I tried to get as simple as possible APIs for you guys to use. So one of them are news API. This is pretty straightforward usage and a good documentation. So for example, first thing you need to do is to get the API key. So here you will enter your email address and your password and say, yes, I'm an individual, check the I'm not robot, agree, and you will get the API key. And that's pretty much it regarding the API key. You will use this API key to put it in the make.com scenario. So here I have added here so I can reuse the API key, but you don't need to do it, just a sample. So here you will get that API key and put variable value, you can call it API key, and put the variable value what is the key that you will get in the news API. In the news API, after you get the API key, then you go to documentation. So all of these APIs will always have to have documentation. In this documentation, there will be explanation how to use what first endpoints. So endpoints are the addresses that you are going to call in order to get the data or to post the data, update or delete the data. So in this case scenario, we have these endpoints, and here you have the endpoint called everything. Basically, what we are going to do here is you will have the GET request, for example, in this case, and then you will have the URL. URL goes until here, and after here it's all the query parameters. So you can see this Q is the query parameter, and Bitcoin in this case is the value. So to translate this into the make.com scenario is here. So we will have this URL. So URL is here, as you can see, and then we will paste it here in the URL. We will choose the method get. We will add query string, and in the query string you will add this first is Q. In that example is Bitcoin, but you can put Apple or whatever. This means that this endpoint will basically search any news related to the term that you enter here. So whatever you enter, it will, I don't know, crypto, whatever, Bitcoin, Apple, Microsoft, whatever you search. And based on that, you will get the response, which is pretty much straightforward. It looks a little bit intimidating when you're starting out, but you will get used to it. It's really, this is a structured data. And based on this structured data, you can see, for example, we have a source and it has a property ID and name, and then you have the author, and as you can see, we have the similar here. So for each news, we have the similar source, and then we have the articles, which is basically an array of these articles or the news articles. So I will show you first how to use query string for authentication, but you can also use the header. So for the query string, as you can see, here we have the name property. So this is a property name, which you will add in the HTTP request. So let me first show you what is this. So this is add module, and then we say HTTP, and then you go to make request, and then when you say get, and then basically this is all that you put here. So delete. Okay. So once you set up everything like you can see in this screen, you can add here that so in this case you can add here that API key that you get. For example, I don't know, usually it's 1, 2, 3 ADD blah blah, or you can just use it like I have done. So basically there is a module before, and you just click it, and then you have it automatically here. And when you make a call, so when you execute this module, it will basically be structured like here. So it will look like this, and it will have this query parameter, so this query string, and it will have also this end is like concatenating the parameters. So you have API key, which is here, and the value that you will get after you register. So in sense of make.com, it's like here is the URL, here is the get method that you choose, and you add here a query string, and you put Q for the first parameter and the value whatever you want, and then the API key and the API key you want. You choose to parse response, and basically you are good to go. And once, let me show you how it looks. So let's execute this now to just see what we're gonna have. I already put the API key that I got from the news API, so the good one, not the dummy one. And let's hear it to see what we get. Okay, we got everything was a success, and then let's go one by one. So like I said, first one is with passing by the query parameters. So in this case, I forgot to tell you that you don't need for the get request the content type. For delete, post definitely, put definitely, and some for delete they require, but for get you don't need to. Let me run it again just to make a point. And yes, so it was success. So let's see what we got. So we have the status code 200. So for the status codes of HTTP status codes, 200 is success. When you get 400, this is a bad request. So something was not formatted as endpoint wants you to pass it. And 401 not authorized. 500 is internal server error. And this is pretty much the most common ones. Now let's get, so in make.com everything is a bundle. So here we have the output as a bundle, and we will see what data we got. So we have 47,000 blah blah something, some articles, we don't care. So let's see what we got. We got source. So let me switch back. So as you can see, this is the output. So you have this source, then you have some ID, name, author, blah, blah, blah. So this is a sample for this Bitcoin. For us, we have chosen the Apple to see any articles regarding the Apple. So here is the Apple. And then we have source, then we have the ID, name, blah, blah. And then we have author. So everything is pretty much the same, as you can see. And you get this JSON output that you can successfully use. That was the thingy with parse JSON, parse response. So this automatically parses responses and converts JSON to so that we can reuse it. We don't have to mess around with it. So this one was with passing the API key in the query string. So this is a basic example, but I will strongly suggest for you not to do it in this way. You should put it into the HTTP header, because this can be easily intercepted, and basically in most case scenarios, any software that logs or trace any calls will in this case see your API key, and this is something that you don't want. So what do you want? You want to put it in HTTP header. So let me show you how this looks. So here is another example with, so everything is the same. Reason why it says here X blah blah API key is because it says so in the documentation. So if we use HTTP header, then we need to name it like this. So it's not API key like here. It will be name is a X API key. So that's the one of the reasons, for example, here. So the previous one was lead, this is the other one. So in this case, everything is the same except we added headers. So in previous one, let me show you, in previous one, everything is in the query string and headers is empty. And here we add the API key in the header, and in query string we will keep this property and value of this property because let me hit this we don't need this, we don't need also this, nothing, we don't need anything, and minus empty. So save and let me run it again and see what we got here. So again, so this is the one with the header, not the query string for the API key, and here we have, so everything is the same. So we have only used the different way of passing authentication for the API key, and this is, as you can see, everything is the same. So collection, Apple, blah blah, so everything is the same. So I wanted to demonstrate for you guys both ways how you can use API key in a query string and how you can use this in the headers. Like I said previously, this is the best approach or better approach than this one, but it's up to you. You can practice, you can see, but yeah, this is regarding connecting to API and getting data for the from the API. So get is to get the data. So now I will show you kind of advanced authentication using API. The good site is dummy.json. It's really good because it has all the requests, because so get, post, put, delete. The one news API is good, but it's mostly get requests. So with the dummy.json, you will have this link for this presentation in description, so you can check it out, everything that I have explained here. And for dummy.json is basically you don't need any API key, so you don't have to bother with registering. So read docs. So with the dummy.json website is quite good explained, and you have various examples here, like for example in this authentication. So I will show you this call in make.com. So here it is. So this is the endpoint. Endpoint is here, and we are making a post request. In this case scenario, we don't have any API key, so we are requesting data. So for example, this is common scenario where you get issued a token. So what is this token? Token is basically a result of our API when we introduce ourselves or authenticate ourselves. In this case, we have username and password, which exists on this API. And then in return, we get the token, so access token. Also, when it comes to token, but I will not bother you at this stage, I will create more videos on this topic. There is also a refresh token, so that if someone intercept your call where you get the token, then you can also do the refresh or whatever case scenario, so that you always are having a new token. So each time new token is issued to you. But let's keep this thing simple. So this is how it looks. You have request content because it's a post request, and the result is, so we are making this call, and the result is status code is 200, so it means all okay. Data is, so this is a access token, and this is this refresh token. When we get this access token, we then later on use this token to make other calls, to make calls to other endpoints, which is protected by this access token. So at the API server, it will check every time we make a call that this access token is valid. So best kind of case scenario is that you have a this module for the setting the multiple variables. In these multiple variables, you will get the you will create a variable name access token and a refresh token. So when you have some scenario for your customer, for your client, this is a good approach that you can reuse it later on in your workflow. So once you get a token, then you can reuse it in next module. Here is a GET request using this token. This is pretty simple. You have the header called authorization. So this is important for the token. And bearer is basically kind of holder of this token. So this is kind of type of token, so that API server can recognize that this is an access token. And this is pretty much it you need to know when it comes to the authentication with access token. So we ask with the post request, hey, give me access token. Then if we have correct username and password, blah, blah, blah. Then once we get it, then we store this in variables so we can reuse it for other calls. So here's the access token. And then we make a call by adding header. And in header, we are adding the name is authorization and the value is bearer and access token. So with this call, we get the output. Output is here. So we get this. Please note that here in this case scenario, I have tried to use something that is really easy for you guys, but you can use any kind of API endpoints. I don't know, you can use some for recipes, you will find it, free ones, of course. And then you can play around with this, but the structure is pretty much the same. So once you get authenticated, you will get this output. So with this, like I said, with this dummy JSON thingy, you don't need to pass in for example, for some recipes, for getting single recipes, you don't need to be authenticated because this is just a dummy API. It's really good for practice. Sorry. And then I will show you also with a post request for adding recipe, delete and put request. And with this, then you will be good to go, and you will have a good foundation, hopefully, to start making your own scenarios with API. So with post request for this dummy JSON, we have the JSON content. In this JSON content, you will see here is recipe to add. So recipe add is here. So add recipe. And in add recipe, this is basically how they have structured it. So there is a JSON object and property name, and then the value of this property. I have added it here. You can do whatever you want. So I have added this here as a post method, and basically this will add a new recipe to that endpoint. So let's see how it looks like. So here is the output of our request, API request. And here is the data. So data is, if you could see, I did not pass the ID. So usually when you add something, there is always a record number, so to say. And this ID is basically a value where this data can be identified on the server side. So as you can see, just to show you again, so this is my, see, I don't have any property with ID, but it will return an ID. And so for example, here's the output. Like, see here, he's not passing any ID, but he is getting ID. So this is when you make a post request, the output is here. So status code 200, like I said, and this is what we have added. So here is something that I have added. Also, this is a good thing if you want to make a delete request, because here you can just just test this part. Is a variable module where I have added this recipe ID, which is basically this ID what I get from this post request. So once it gives me the post request, I could do same like here, and then instead of this hard-coded value 1, I could just add this here, so data ID here. So instead of this 1, and I would be good to go with this, because it's 1 or it's 50, 51, I don't care. And now I will show you why I use this variable, because with the delete request in our case, so delete recipe is here. We are passing in the URL. So see here, we are passing the value of this ID of this recipe. Sorry, this is patch, my bad. So delete recipe. So delete, it's below. Sorry. So here it is. So delete recipe with ID. So we are passing the value 1 or value 51 or 30, doesn't matter. And here is this variable. So this is programmed. And that's about it when it comes to the delete request. So this will delete this recipe on the server itself. And the output is here. So see, its status code is 200, successful. And this is what I have deleted. So there is a property, because this is they have the property on this API endpoint where it says property is deleted, because just you can see also some, because in some of the systems when you do the delete, they will not actually delete the data. They will, this is called marking. So they will mark this recipe and say, okay, this is deleted, and they will not show it in the GET request. So once you make a GET request, you won't see this recipe with ID 1 because it is marked with is deleted. So okay, so this is successful, and then we have the update. So update is here. So update recipe is update recipe here. I just showed it not with intent. And here is the update. So I'm using still this variable, and because this is a dummy JSON, like I said before, so basically this data is not getting deleted. So that's why I can delete and update Usually it should be update and then delete, but like I said, this is dummy JSON. And then we just have to select here the method that we are using. So this is a put, and this is basically what we are updating. We are updating for this recipe ID, we are updating the name, and the output is here. So output status code is 200, data is, so we changed the name to awesome blah blah pizza. So how to make $2,000 a month or per client is pretty straightforward. I would suggest, if you're just starting up, that you go to platform like Upwork. There you will find various jobs. Jobs are divided in per project, so fixed price, and per hour. And my tip for you would be to go for, even though if it's per hour, that you bid with fixed price, because in that case you can charge any setup. So everyone who is looking for these kind of automations, they know that they are not cheap. Like if they get someone for 2,000, they are getting a bargain. So in that case, you can, if you just kind of want to start, you can go as low as $500 per setup using API in make.com. But usually it's around 2,000, but it's up to you and how you want to do it. That's pretty much it when it comes to the API scenarios and in make.com. And if you like this video, then please subscribe, like, and see you in the next one.